pyramid scheme. They don't talk about it.
They buy all the shit for you. They take it to work. It's fucked up. Maybe your parents have to do your work for you. Let's move this shit a little bit back. It's a little close. Oh. Alright, bro.
Salud. Kick off, man.
Alright, it's 28th episode, 100 podcast. Today I brought in my boy Jimmy. This is actually my second time kicking it with him. We met through my buddy Jason Arroyo. And I just know, obviously, you know more about vacation rentals, real estate than the average 20, 30-year-old. And that's kind of why I brought you on. I just want you to kind of give us some information today. Make this an educational podcast for us.
Cool, man.
So what got you into the real estate? What got you into, I guess, the vacation rentals? Because is it real estate, considered real estate, or is it?
I think it's like a branch of real estate for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it falls under the umbrella. But yeah, thanks for having me, man. Real estate wasn't something I thought I'd ever get into. I'm like a natural salesperson, but I think a lot of people that have sales ability think that they can get into real estate easily. So I was in San Diego. I went to school at San Diego State, economics degree. And I knew that I wanted to find something with sales and economics, and just like when I started seeing how much real estate agents were making at the time, I was like, I want to be a part of that. So at that time, I was looking into getting my real estate license, but San Diego is a competitive market. Something I learned quickly is like you need to know your region to be successable. So there's people that have been doing it for so long. So to move up quickly, it's very difficult.
Actually,
you can't expect to move quick.
Even here in the Valley, I worked for a couple of real estate agents, and I knew one real estate agent that worked strictly in one club, like in one country club. And does that happen even in like San Diego? Is that like
Definitely.
a normal thing? You work in just one little spot?
I think you become specialized in your areas, right? So
you
you get a confidence level if you are the expert within this district or this area, right? So there's so many pockets within San Diego. I was overwhelmed. I was just like, I don't think I could be successful in this. So transitioning and like the next opportunity was actually, I'm from here from the Coachella Valley. Coachella's always been a big thing, right? And we know people come in here, they rent houses. Where do they stay? And I learned what property management was through people that were working here in Palm Springs, and I just wanted to learn the industry. So like my first real move into real estate was actually under property management. And when people talk about property management, they think of like apartment complexes, like a superintendent that takes care of like the pipes are broken, the lights are out. I had no understanding of what it was. But I decided to move back here to learn it. And I worked for a company here called Vacation Palm Springs. And at the time they had about 400 vacation rentals throughout the Coachella Valley. So they gave me my first like shot into it.
And how was that? How was the property management? What'd you learn along the way, I guess?
Yeah.
How did it help you in your next step?
It was eye-opening because it's an industry I had no idea existed. I just knew people rented houses, but I didn't understand how the houses came to be rented, how they got furnished, what it took to continue renting, right? These big groups would come in and like enjoy the house, but things get broken, maintenance needs to happen. So like my agreement with the owner of that company at the time was just to be a sponge, and they were helpful enough to allow me to kind of move position to position. So one of my first positions was actually as a property manager, checking the houses before they got rented and after the guests checked out.
And just see if anything was broken.
Exactly. Walk the walls. So I appreciate that position because it like fundamentally gave me an eye for detail because I was able to see what's wrong, right?
So you can't just let shit go.
Exactly. You can, but that's that's a deciding moment as a company or like as a person is like, do you just let shit slide because it's not the best like route? Like the TV's kind of broke or the Wi-Fi's a little bit weak. How does that affect the guests? So that was the first time me actually putting like other people's best interests for their experience come in there. So it was a good stepping stone, and then I became like into the reservations aspect of things. So then I was actually being able to like have relationships with the people that were visiting the Coachella Valley and understanding why they're here, right? It's not just Coachella.
Talking to the actual customers,
exactly.
You're actually figuring it out.
Yeah,
getting down in the back end of it.
What's your need? Why are you here? Right? Yeah. I'm here for a wedding. I'm here because I'm a snowbird. I'm here because I'm a cancer survivor right now, but like I'm in rehab, so I need to be in a safe environment. right?
That makes sense. Makes sense.
And it's beautiful here, right? Like I think that's the coolest thing about the Coachella Valley. It's just like,
it's kind of weird for the people that live here, the residents. You know, we look at it as a desert, and you know, we think we're like living in hell. But you got all these celebrities and stuff that always come down here and visit, and not even during, like you said, not just during Coachella. They visit just once the weather gets good. I guess it's like it's nice over here. I
shed that mindset when I started visiting 400 different homes, because then you realize why people are coming here, what's special about the desert, and people have been visiting here for years, bro. Like you mentioned, like this was like the Hollywood getaway from the Rat Pack. You think about Elvis has houses here. Like foundationally, like the desert was such a cool place to be in the 70s. Yeah. And we have the largest collection of mid-century homes in the world. So like if you're into architecture, like this is a good place to be. And at the time, while I'm doing this role, I didn't know any of this, right? So it was interesting to start developing a passion and a respect for something that you didn't know existed.
Yeah, you're like, the valley's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah.
How was, so I guess from there, now what are you doing? What's your focus now?
Yeah, so like, I guess the come up from there, or like how I kind of transitioned was, I saw all these homes, and while I'm working for Vacation Palm Springs, I naturally progressed into different positions, and I had the opportunity to onboard more houses, meaning like talking to homeowners to get them interested about renting their house. Or there was something called OTAs. And an OTA is an online travel agency. And these are sites that you may have been familiar with before, like HomeAway, FlipKey, VRBO. These are websites where you can rent houses short term. And then there was this thing that I heard about, and I had no idea what it was, called Airbnb. And this is like 2014, 15, where I started just kind of being in discovery mode and trying to understand what is this and how can I integrate it into my company. So I basically took the portfolio of the 400 homes, and at that time it was almost 500 homes, and I put it onto Airbnb. They were already on these other OTAs, but they were not on Airbnb, and I knew nothing about Airbnb, so like I had to do my homework to be successful on Airbnb. But I took those, I would say 400 homes at the time, put them on one account, and was extremely successful, because if you like take some of these amazing houses in Palm Springs, like I said, architecturally beautiful, they're going to rent quickly. Yeah. So the success was almost immediate. And fast forward from that was basically getting noticed by Airbnb in San Francisco. So they recruited me away because they saw the success that I had here in the desert.
And so this company you worked for, you came in and you're just like, I just want to be a sponge. And so you didn't just do what you were basically, instructed to do. Oh, my son. You didn't do what you were just instructed to do. You just went above and beyond. You know what I'm saying? You just went, is that just how you always have been? What made you that way? What made you just kind of, I'm just going to figure out how to make this company the best it can be, and it's not even mine. It's not even my business.
It was interesting. I think my manager at the time had a lot of confidence and trust, and that allowed me to be an entrepreneur. So he, in spirit, I had kind of went through all these different roles. Yeah. And then I found a place where, like, here's something that's not being done. Do you allow and trust me to try to build something? So with that, I took it really seriously because I treated it like it was my own business. So each home, I had pride as I was building it, right? I cared about the photos, the detail. Everything that I did in prior roles led to me to respect and want to do well within my own, like, sub-business within Vacation Palm Springs.
Yeah, you do, and then that's kind of, I guess, what got you to Airbnb, to getting seen from the Airbnb San Francisco.
Yeah, I think it's like having pride and passion, right? Like when I talk about it, and I still feel this way today, it's exciting, right? Like you give someone the ability to become an entrepreneur and rent their house out and make revenue. So I think, I got lucky because I created a relationship with, at that time, an account manager. And he saw my level of passion and asked me to interview for Airbnb. And that's a dream scenario, right? Like you're here in the desert, you like are feeling what's going on, and you're like, I like this industry, and then one of the best companies comes out to you and says you have an opportunity to work for them. So I was like very excited to get there. And it had me move to San Francisco. So like I was in San Francisco for the last 4 years and just recently moved back in October.
How was, I want to get into you actually owning your own house, and then because you rent it out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but how was, just before that, since you mentioned it, What how was San Francisco? How was the life over there? Did you like it?
Yeah,
You
you know
it?
what's crazy? So like I'll think about I was interviewing for Airbnb, and this is the truest story for San Francisco at the time. So I'm from the Bay. I was born in the Bay Area. Like I love saying I'm from the Bay, like hyphy, all that kind of stuff is who I was for such a long time. So I was excited to move back and say this is home again, right? And then like as I got there, I rented a place on Airbnb in a sketchy neighborhood, right? So like I didn't know at the time that it was not the best neighborhood, but it was a cheap place that I could get. And then once again, I love Airbnb, so I wanted to. I'm good at the moment. So like I go through there, and I remember spending the night, and then like I'm getting ready for my interview. I'm gonna walk to Airbnb, and when I open up the door, there was a guy laid out with a needle in his arm. And like just passed out, right?
Damn.
And this is like the realest moment for me because obviously, I mean, there's like different levels of drug use, but this is my first time.
And this is right outside your door.
Right outside the door that I'm getting, and the walk to Airbnb at the time is maybe 15 minutes away. But it was just eye opening mindset wise, and like I realized, you know, like I'm in a city. I moved from Palm Springs, or I've been in a couple cities, but this is a real city.
Like big city. This is city.
Big city. Lots of like activity, and you're like stimulated by what's going on, right? There's cars, honking, traffic, like everything. So I think that was the biggest like mindset change. But like it's not all bad, right? So like that's just my initial thoughts of what's going on. If I was to take anything away from the 4 years that I was there, is like the people that are in San Francisco are special in the sense that like we're all kind of implants, right? Like there's people from the East Coast. Everyone's kind of living there, and mainly because of the tech culture. Like there's obviously a lot of different companies there. But there's something special going on in the city, and like people are just really wanting to be connected, and like there's always something fun to do.
I lived in Arizona for a little bit, and I lived just outside of Phoenix. I lived in Mesa. I was a brand rep for Oakley, so I'd travel every day, you know, for work. I'd be going to different stores and stuff in Phoenix or, you know, different cities around there. And I love just the drive and looking at the buildings and shit, you know? Like, you feel like there's opportunity. You see those buildings, you're like, all right, I feel like I can do something here. You know, you can make a difference. Like, you have a chance to be something. I don't know if that's how you felt in San Francisco, but that's what I lived in a big city and Phoenix isn't San Francisco. Not even close, but I lived there for maybe like 4 months, dude, and I loved it. I love just driving through the city every day.
There's an energy, right?
And
like similarly, I would say that. So like I grew up in the Bay Area, but like my family, like I have some background that's Chinese, right? So like we'd be in Chinatown, and just even from a young age, you see the hustle and bustle of a city, and you just are fascinated, and you can just feel money and like energy moving around. So growing up, it was always like the Bay, right? And like San Francisco is just such a special place because of its people, right? And I think like the history now of San Francisco is much different because of tech culture. So they throw around gentrification quite a bit because I mean it's true, it's changing, but not all change is bad, and like you can still see parts of San Francisco that are true.
That are still San Francisco.
100%. Yeah.
Still the Bay.
Yeah. And like, it's people, right? And like, I think the new community is changing that a little bit. So that's a little bit of a bummer for me because if I'm proud about the Bay and I'm saying all these things, like, it's hard to say we're now Bay Area, right?
Yeah, so, when you grew up and it was different. It was different.
It was just a different vibe at the time, but I mean, I still love it. I'll rep my Giants all day. I'm a 49ers fan.
You're all San Francisco, huh?
All San Francisco. I actually got it tatted on me.
What about, are you Golden State?
You know, so strange enough, I grew up in Modesto, like mid life, so I actually became a Kings fan.
I like that. I enjoy that. You know why? Because there's so many bullshit ass Warriors fans out there, dude. After they won a couple of those championships,
I have mad respect for the Warriors. I've been to Warrior games. You know, I love what they have chemistry wise. You know, I've gone to a couple games with KD there, so I've been there during its best times. But yeah, as far as basketball, like I think you got to be true to the team that you like idolized when you were a kid, right? Like you can't switch it up. So I mean, like, yes,
can't be a bandwagon.
I'm in the Bay. I'm gonna support the Warriors if I'm there, if against any other team. But like, it's gonna be if it's Kings Warriors, that's what it is. here, I grew up here, so how many Laker games I watched? You know what I mean? I'm a Kobe fan, you know, regardless, right? You got to be a Kobe fan. You're a player fan, like, and now
I'm a LeBron fan. I think just because I'm a little bit younger than you.
Yeah.
So I kind of grew up and LeBron was like my guy, you know. That was like my Kobe, and Kobe was still like, you know, still like Kobe, but
yeah,
LeBron was my guy. But how do you feel about the NBA this year? You think the NBA is you think they're gonna finish the season, or you think that's just done for the season?
You know, there's a lot of question marks.
Do you watch it?
Yeah, I do, but it's. And it sucks to see the energy that there was. Like, it was such a good season.
The Lakers
the Lakers are killing it. It was just like, you kill momentum.
Exactly.
And, like, how do you come back to that? And I think the NBA, if anything, was probably the most effective sport with media, right? You think of Rudy Gobert, and you think of, like, you know, just what happened. And it seemed like the NBA was the precedent that kind of set all the lockdowns.
Exactly, because multiple people got the coronavirus, you know, and the guy that was even joking around about it is the guy that got it, and then, you know, multiple people on his team. And
one of my coworkers had sent me, and we're from the Bay. I'm a big Niners fan. Niners lost the Super Bowl. I'm sad about that, obviously, right? But like there was,
at least they were in the Super Bowl, bro.
They worked hard, and
at least they made the playoffs. Cowboys didn't make the playoffs.
I went to the Packers Niners game. That was a lot of fun, and I went with family, and that was one of my most memorable sports experiences, right?
Really?
But like, of course, I wanted them to win the Super Bowl. But a report went out that like, had they won the Super Bowl, the like parade that would have happened in the city could have started the epidemic of coronavirus first within San Francisco.
Yeah.
So that article, and I think I want to say it's the Washington Post, or it's a credible source, right? It could have been a different hand that's been dealt. So
that's
like,
pretty interesting.
It's crazy. I was just there in March, right? Or end of February. And, like, I'm so glad that I went prior to all this right now. I was saying I lived there, but I decided to move. I had an opportunity here in October, November, so I moved here. But, like, I couldn't imagine being in San Francisco right now during a lockdown. It changes your mindset a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm still checking in with my friends and family out there. Like, it's tough because you don't have enough space, you know?
This coronavirus, it's just so crazy. Obviously, I feel like a lot of us have never really experienced anything like this, you know, anything where just the whole country's shut down and you're just like, just wait and see, basically, you know, and just kind of see when they decide it's time. I don't know, dude.
It's unprecedented, man. Like, but I will say, like, now's the time to be creative. Now's the time to be optimistic.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of. Obviously, it's not great that people are passing away, but within that, I think people are forced to be creative right now.
Yeah, and I feel like now this time, you know, you got so much time at home, and maybe some people are off, you know, they got laid off or don't have their jobs. Maybe this is the time to work on your passion, you know. Maybe write down some ideas, write down a business you want to start, or, you know, start something different, you know.
Yeah.
Do something that you actually enjoy and try to enjoy life, enjoy your family, because, you know, this is something that I don't think we're gonna go through again. A lot of us. This might be a one-time thing for us. This pandemic. I hope we don't go through this again.
It's a kickoff to the decade. So
Kickoff
yeah, like if you think about it, it's 2020, right? Like
yeah.
It's funny. I've been posting a lot for myself because I think like millennials, we use that term a lot. We're so reminiscent of how great the 2000s were. The music, the music, right? And I think the last tragedy, if anything large, like I think as far as loss, you think of September 11th, right? And I think like if you look at the time after that, how fun music, culture,
just like, how proud people were to be American. You know, it was like, damn, I love this shit. I love the United States. I love my neighbor. I want to just enjoy my time with my neighbor, you know, and it was a weird time. I definitely feel you on that shit. Like, and I was at that time, 2001, so I was maybe 6, and I still remember that shit, 6 or 7, you know, and I still remember the way people were, you know. We were, you know, all those flags on people's cars and shit. People were like, American.
It's crazy because it was a one time, like, it's a day, right? We remember the day.
Yeah.
We're living through months of isolation, and, like, I think just people right now have a natural, like, ability to navigate through this situation, and some people are having a hard time. You know what I mean? We just don't see it right now. There will be greatness that comes from this, but there's also a lot of people hurting. So I think that's interesting. It's ongoing, and I think even today, man, like it's just like hard. There's not one day where you're like, oh, things are a little bit weird, right? It feels like it's a normal day, but then you realize, oh shit, I'm at the store today and everyone's wearing a mask.
Exactly. And you can't even, like, you think about getting food and I can only go do pickup. I can't go to the movies. You can't go anywhere, like everything's closed down. Everywhere's just pickup only. Everywhere's only allowing, even if you go to a gas station, a lot of gas stations are allowing like one person in at a time. It's like, it's just, it's weird. It's a weird time.
Social dynamics will be different for the next year or two. And I think it's a rebound, right? And that's what I'm thinking of, like even within our, like my industry that I'm working in and things like that, like how are things going to look 2-5 years from now?
What do you feel, especially since you're kind of not that you're like, exactly in the industry, but how do you feel about Coachella? Do you think Coachella is going to happen this year? Do you think Coachella's
like I'm a homeowner and I also rent my house, right? So I think that I like the revenue, and the Coachella Valley is an event heavy space, right? So you think about it, we're now going into May. How many weddings would have happened right now, right? A lot of weddings have been postponed. Coachella is an event where hundreds of thousands of people are
golfing, coming. Man, golfing. A lot of people missing out on that golf course.
I mean, they're still golfing right now. I feel like I think that's still happening ad hoc because the golf courses are being watered. A Coachella is an event where the world expects to try to fly in and be a part of it, right? So I think like you have international love and you get a lot of outbound travel and attention to the Coachella Valley. So our local businesses, man, are hurting right now. And we're going into slow season, which is our summertime. Mm-hmm. So rebound's going to be hard. I was very optimistic about an October lineup, right? And that changes the dynamic of travel, right? We've never had a season start in October outside of Desert Trip. Desert Trip kind of just got dropped in one-time type of concert. Paul McCartney, you have big names. But younger people weren't paying for that. It was really people that had money that said, I want to stay at a nice house to see these legends, right, perform. Yeah. Now, if you change it and you say October is the date for Coachella, what does that mean for next year, right? Does it still happen in April with such a...
When it's so close. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, it's the first time I've actually thought about that.
Yeah, what's the turnaround for that? And, like, how do you get people...
What is that, 5 months?
You've been to Coachella?
Yeah, I've been to Coachella.
How close are you to people?
Like, think right about, up next to it, especially if you're in one of those tents, dude.
Sahara tent, bro. Like the Sahara,
it's a big artist, dude. That you're right up. You're touching people.
So how do you feel? How do you get the public comfortable with such a, like? Obviously, right now we're like 6 feet. You know what I mean? Yeah, and like you have to do all these measures. How do you introduce that within? Like, here we are in almost May, right? We're talking about 6 months from now. How do you change the stigma of someone's mindset to say, I'm comfortable to be next to this person?
Just be right next to someone.
It's very difficult for these.
And we're all sweating and just, moisture's hitting everybody.
So I think to answer your question, it's going to be the job of these events, like a golden voice, to understand what are the protocols to get people comfortable. But you're going to lose a lot of attendance. I don't think an October event is going to be as many people, international especially, right? Like I think of the Australians or anyone that's coming in from Europe, how comfortable or how able will they be to actually come to this event? So it'll be a much different year. And like I'm hopeful that it happens, but realistically, I wouldn't be surprised if they postpone it as well or cancel it altogether.
And just go to April for the next year. And my thought also was how different is the lineup gonna be? Because what did these people probably had other plans for October? Yeah. They had other tours.
Shout out to Coachella for having to navigate almost one of the hardest reconfirmation, right?
Yeah. Did you happen to see that Coachella documentary?
No, I watched some of it. Actually,
it was interesting.
The first day, I think I was watching it. It's one of those things that was like I don't want to I'm so attached to Coachella that like I didn't want to dwell because I think everyone here in the desert goes to Coachella, and it's like this is our first year of missing it as locals, as anything, right? Yeah. Even the years I've moved away, it's been a point of like I need to get out here, even if it's for a day.
Even the vibes during Coachella, it's just. It's active. Whole valley. Some
of my best friendships have been made from just connecting through a random concert, and that's why I love festivals for that. So, but yeah, man, I'm hopeful. I think we'll return to it, but I'm doubtful. That's the answer right now.
Now going off the the festival to the vacation rental topic, and I know you own your own home. What tips, I guess, would you give to people that want to rent their homes?
Yeah.
And, even people that want to own their own home, like just what tips would you give some people? Especially people that are in their 20s and 30s like us,
Yeah. I think I think it took a long time for me to understand that it's possible. Financially, it's tough to say I'm going to own my own house. It's such an accomplishment, so I don't think it's like something that you undermine by any means, means, but you need to prepare for it. So it took me a while to feel comfortable with making an investment. So pick the right house. I think if anything, I looked at 20 different houses to feel comfortable, and I love the house, right? So I think assets are important, and we talked about stocks earlier offside of this, but stocks are something you can't really touch and feel. But your asset, your home, you're gonna be proud of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so feel proud about your space.
It's tangible, You know this is worth something. I got
structure. You have structure. You got walls and everything. Yeah. So I think it took me. I was living in San Francisco when I bought most recent house, and I have a couple other houses. What I will say about the Coachella Valley is it's very affordable. Just know that the same value that you would get in San Francisco for 2 bedrooms in the millions right now, where you get a 4-bedroom house out here in the 300s to 500s. So just plan accordingly. I think make sure you save up. That's the biggest thing. You need to have money down and ready. And then the unforeseen thing is maintenance. These houses are gonna require you to invest in. It's hot out here. You gotta buy a new AC. Right. These are things you don't think about when you get into it. So
that's a couple thousand or whatever.
It's the ongoing maintenance, right? Yeah. So that was the initial things, but kind of going back to my initial job, right? Like I mentioned, I was going in with Vacation Palm Springs. I got to see 400 homes that were just dope, right? And the Coachella Valley has so many nice homes that I was able to understand what kind of design I liked and what kind of homes I liked. And that led a lot to the decision making when I decided to buy a house.
I actually worked at Bighorn. I feel the same way. You see those nice homes and you're like, wow. What a nice home is now. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I know the style.
There's levels. There's levels.
There's levels. Yeah, there's definitely levels.
So with that, I'll kind of rewind it a little bit. I took my childhood home, right? And I think something that everyone can probably relate to is that you were raised in your childhood home and your parents, maybe you moved away, maybe you're not with them anymore, but everyone has an extra home, right? Or maybe they're renting it long term. And the house isn't in great shape, right? These are houses that maybe we've had for years.
Yeah.
So I took it upon myself to renovate my first house. And it's not something I knew how to do, right? So YouTube was my friend, but that's dangerous, right? I was doing demo projects by myself.
And so you were just doing this yourself.
I was doing it myself. What I did at the time, it was my childhood home, and I told my mom, we could have a long-term renter, but what we could do is renovate it and try to put it on Airbnb. And this is while I was still in the desert, and I'm looking at the 400 dope homes, and I said, let me try to play around with this. I'll put my money into it, renovate the house, and the output will be we'll put it on Airbnb and get it rented. And I think something big for us is our parents don't understand this new world of the sharing economy, right?
They're kind of just in their ways,
It's this. It's long term. It's this. So it was a little bit of a battle, but I think when I put some of my financials into it and said I will invest in this. This is how I believe in it. The trust starts to get.
They saw you're in there 100%. You're going for it.
And with that, they also saw my system that I was building at Vacation Palm Springs. So they're he knows what he's doing. We'll run with it. It's his money as well.
Yeah.
So I bought real good furniture, and I decided to renovate my first home, and I launched it. And I think there was a lot of trial and error in there. I spent a lot of money that I wouldn't do again, but end result was pride in the fact that I got it done. You go live, you put it on Airbnb, and you start seeing rentals, and you're I did that.
Yeah.
And then you start seeing every weekend get booked. And then you start seeing months get booked. And that's extra revenue in your pocket. So the confidence level is let's do the next house. Or I can help someone renovate and do that. So I did that 3 times over. And at this point, I got 2 houses that I rent on Airbnb. And this last house, I'm super proud of it. Because I put a year's worth of work and design into it. So that makes me proud,
What tips do you have, especially you said there's a lot of money you spent that you wouldn't do again? Like, give me an example of one of those times, I guess.
Yeah.
You had to fix things a little bit.
I think it's like, don't go, like, know what you have to spend. Like the AC, right? Like, your guests are going to come here, it's 115 degrees, they're going to use the AC, they're going to drop it down to 60 degrees, and they might break your old system.
Exactly, just because they're just like, I want this shit cold, you know?
That's the first thing they do. So so I invested in a Nest, I got a brand new AC system, so I know that I have a reliable foundation to my home, as opposed to spending money on things that don't matter, right? Like a sculpture or like things that like art that it doesn't really matter that it's there. It doesn't deliver any worth to the value of the guest being there. It's a cool
really
piece.
It doesn't really get you the guest or keep a guest. You know, it doesn't really
It's a fine line because you want the house to be cool enough for people to be like, I want to stay there because it looks amazing, right? So you want to capture design. But like functionality is so important, man. So like I would say, like focus on the functionality and what needs to be there. But like you could go down a rabbit hole, and like if you don't do your homework, you're gonna overspend. So most recent, I'll kind of like admit that I spent way too much on building a pool, because I really wanted to have the sickest pool at my house. And it took, I think they did a great job initially, but like at the same time, if you're not clear about your vision, they're not gonna know what you want. So
you gotta know exactly what
you have to know. You have to like map it out and say, this is exactly what I'm looking for, material wise. Here's the end state. Here's the example, right? So like, and they need to base it off of that. So yeah, I would say like have a plan. That's the most important thing.
And since you're here working, like you obviously your houses are here in the valley. Do you have a city that you think is maybe the most valuable right now? Like maybe like for me, and not that I don't know for sure, but I feel like Yucca, and it's not even in the valley, but it's close enough. I think Yucca's a pretty interesting spot that is continually growing, and the prices are still pretty low. You can get a house for a real reasonable price. Do you have a valuable spot in mind?
There's a lot of cities in the desert, and so one of the biggest pieces of advice I would say is understand who your local city council is. Okay. Because they make the rules on what's going on within the area.
That honestly is nothing I've ever thought of.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, because you could buy something, but they could tell you what you can and cannot do with your space, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So short-term rentals, you need to have a license. You need to kind of do things correctly. So one of the biggest advice would say do your homework and understand how are short-term rentals being treated within a certain city. That's the important thing there. But if I was to think about hot cities, man, I think the desert, as I was mentioning, is a hot vacation market, right?
Yeah,
we're such a drive market because people from San Diego, Arizona, our snowbirds from Canada, Minnesota, Washington, you see the license plates everywhere. They're here to visit because of the beautiful weather. So I think we'll continuously see people using this as a retreat. But if I was to hone in on certain areas, I think it's not areas, it's more so the type of accommodation that's going to change, especially after Corona. I think people want to be distance and larger. Once upon a time, I used to say having a property that maybe housed 15 people for a large group makes you more money. But right now, larger groups are not going to happen as much, right? So I actually think it's these unique accommodations. So I would say a Yucca, Idlewild.
Got you.
I think these retreats and unique spaces where it's a little bit more distance. You're going to see people from LA and these bigger cities wanting to get away, but also be have a very nice place to go to.
Yeah, I've seen because I do drone photography, but I've seen some of those. I forgot what the place is called, but it was almost like a little trailer. It looked like a little trailer. It was just metal, just straight metal. It almost looked like one of those.
It's an Airstream.
Almost an Airstream, but it wasn't an Airstream. But it looked like an Airstream. You know what I'm saying? They just had they have just the AstroTurf. They have a little picnic table, and that shit doesn't cost nothing for them. And they're making money off that rental. It looks good. It's unique.
People are flipping those, and you're making some money. But it's about the space. You know what I mean? I think what people want, not unfortunately, but I think what comes first is the Instagrammability. People
exactly.
People really want to go somewhere because they know they're gonna post it later.
And look like they're having a unique experience, you know. Look like they're having a once in a lifetime experience, you know. Make people like, oh, this is interesting.
It's a different way of traveling. To go back on like, and we're talking about like fundamentals on how I got started at Airbnb. A story before I knew what Airbnb was, I decided to travel on Airbnb, right? Because I think one of the most important things is to put your shoes into like being the consumer. If you're gonna be that host, or you're gonna be someone that like is saying I'm this type of person, you should know the product, right?
Yeah.
So like I went on a trip to Costa Rica and I booked the dopest Airbnbs, but I didn't know where they were in Costa Rica. So you can imagine if you were to say I'm gonna go to this place, but you didn't know the cities.
Crazy.
I went to 3 random places.
And how was that?
Very different. I went to Tarcoles, which is like the alligator capital, and I went to the jungle, and that one was a beautiful Airbnb, but like you don't know the logistics to get to the jungle. So
That's what I was gonna say.
I took a bus, and like I'm on the side of the road, like walking almost 35 minutes through a dirt road with my luggage.
Fucking way.
Yeah, because I had no idea when I booked it that it's literally there's no cars that can access this place.
Yeah, you're just like, I'm going here. This is the baddest fucking. This is
amazing.
Yeah,
it's like here's
cool.
a view of the rear, like the mountain, like you have everything, right? Mountain views. Amazing jungle, and it was a hut basically, and I remember like going to sleep and like I'm in this hut and I look up and there's a huge lizard just on top, and I'm not talking about like a lizard that we see here in the desert. I'm talking about like iguana sized on the top, and I have like a net because there's so many bugs, and I was like I signed up for this, but I was so happy because it was a dope place, so it opened up my eyes, and I think like traveling blindly sometimes leads to the best experiences. So yeah, the next one that I went to was like a 5-star resort, and like was my favorite place. It was in Manuel Antonio, and I had an amazing view from this like infinity pool that had 3 layers, and I would go back in a heartbeat. You know,
explain what was your most memorable experience? Because I know that's something we haven't even gotten into too much, because we know you work for Airbnb and stuff, but I've seen some of on your Instagram, and actually shout out your Instagram, please. Like, give me your Instagram handle, and then explain
at Jimmy Repp,
that.
Man, that's my personal. You'll see me just being me.
Yeah.
That's 100% me. Like, I'm about my business, but if you're following me,
I've seen you hit the bag a little bit.
Yeah, I box. I used to. You know, I'm not gonna say I'm a boxer, but like in this quarantine, you got to get that frustration out. So, on my handle, you're gonna just see who I am.
Yeah. So explain. I don't know. Give me an experience, a memorable experience. Cause I know I've seen one of yours was in Mexico, one of your posts, one in Costa Rica, I think one in Spain.
Yeah.
So like give me what was your most memorable?
I'm very grateful to work for this company that's aligned with traveling around the world, and I think coming from the Coachella Valley, my lens was a little bit smaller, and I knew I needed to expand it. Right. Like,
yeah.
And I think like you go to San Francisco and you work with these people who work for Airbnb, and they have amazing travel stories, like amazing travel stories. So I just like I think I amplified my expectation of like taking at least 2 big trips a year. So thankfully enough, through this company, I've been able to work in different areas, like a Spain. So I would say one of my favorite ones was like the first time I went to Europe, and I had not been to Europe, so I decided to do something separate from Airbnb. I did a tour of like, I want to say 7 countries in 7 days. And it was way too much.
Way too much moving.
Way too much. Like in one day, this had nothing to do with Airbnb. I go on a separate tour. I'm with an amazing group of people.
Damn.
But I knew at the end state of this that like I'd go and end up at our Paris office. And Airbnb has like an amazing like office in Paris, overlooking like one of the squares, and it's just beautiful. And like I'm very grateful to be connected with people from across the world, because like at that time I was doing a position that there was people just like me that existed in a Paris office,
and that's like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
you do the same job I'm doing.
You do the exact same thing. Let's talk about best practices and just how to be better, right?
Yeah, and obviously their experiences can help you coming from France or whatever. Like, they can help you.
Vice versa, you learn so much, and you kind of realize, here's the similarities we have regardless of like geography, right?
Yeah.
So I have friends like I think across the world that I appreciate, right? And I think like they've helped me grow quite a bit. Going back to experiences, like I knew after this tour of being at seven countries in 7 days, that was exhausting. So I spent about 2 weeks in Paris, and like I wanted to definitely have a dope space, so I decided to rent a boat. And this boat was a 4-bedroom boat where a family lived in the front, but I lived in the steer where like you could actually like drive the boat. And it was a 1-bedroom in there.
Oh my
and right
God.
out my window was the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
So I was working at the Paris office, going back and forth for like this training that was going on. And every day I'd come back to my boat and like, yeah,
it's so interesting.
Eating snails, like going out to the nightclubs there. The other thing is I did a dope Airbnb experience there, and I mentioned before it being virtual, it was hands-on, and I sculpted. And so I sculpted my face in like 3 hours. This experience is still live, unfortunately, because of what's going on. I gotta figure out if it's bookable. But that was one of the most rewarding things because I'm not a very artistic person. I know I have the capability, but to be there for 3 hours and then have the end result have this sculpture of my face that I made.
That's pretty fucking cool.
Rewarding. And this guy, he's an apprentice at the Louvre, which is if you know the Louvre, that's where the Mona Lisa is, right? So, his skill set was just amazing. So like, yeah, I think like experience wise, like it all trickles into what the city that you're traveling in and what do you want to do, you know? And a lot of people, it's the food, the culture. But yeah.
What place had the best food?
Mexico City. Yeah,
for sure.
Mexico City, hands down. I'm a taco person. So Mexico City has a place in my heart for sure.
Did you ever have a dangerous experience? Did you ever feel like you were in danger at any point in your travels? I feel like you had to, bro. If you're going to all these different places, you had to have some interesting. Like,
I won't say like in my recent life. I think I'm more mature now to kind of assess the situations. I think like as you get older,
you're kind of more in control of your
shit. You got to be aware of your surroundings, right? Like
yeah.
I think you just got to be cognizant. And I'm a big believer in respect. So if you like exude respect to others, it's hard to get negativity towards you.
Exactly.
And situations will arise. I think like a lot of my scenarios will be like Rosarito, right? Like I think of my early days when I was like going to TJ and stuff like that. But this is outside of Airbnb. This is me and like
just traveling, just being
just being out. Like, but I think at that time it's just
being a youngin'.
Being young, yeah. But now, honestly, I think you can be safe, but you should be very aware of your surroundings. Like, know culturally as well what's acceptable, because like you can't act with that same like chip on your shoulder from America everywhere. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You have to be very accepting of others, and if you don't have that lens, like it's noticeable and it feels ignorant. You know?
And they have different values, different lifestyles. Like I've obviously heard of. I don't know which Asian countries, so I don't want to sound racist or anything, but like you know, like they're so tight, the people live so close together that they'll just bump into you, and that's not even being rude. That's just their lifestyle, I guess. You know, and that's kind of a weird. Like Joe Rogan talked about that in a podcast, actually not too long ago, and he said one lady, one older. I wish I knew the fucking country, but older Asian lady just straight walked into his like 11-year-old girl, just straight hit her like all hard, and he was like, "What do I do?" You know. You just kind of gotta let it go and just.
It's tough because I think you need to take a multicultural lens. I'll take another Modelo.
Oh yeah,
we'll pop it open. But I think you need to have like an open lens, right? And like, I'll say the one thing I'm most excited for when this all goes past is traveling again, right? Not being able to travel. Thank you, bro. Not being able to travel has put me in a place where I miss traveling so much, and like I look forward to the end of 2020, like in November, October, these times. I was supposed to go to Spain in July to run with the Bulls.
Really? I've always wanted to do that. I know one person that's done it. My buddy actually from Lickington High School. Shout out Jordan Bateman. He did that actually, and he like lived in a hostel for a little bit.
Yeah. I had a group of people that I went to Croatia with last year, and they have this amazing concept, man. Like shout out, they're called the Out of Office Club, and what they do is they allow people to travel with other like-minded people that for 1 week get out of office, right? Because everyone likes, they obviously have to work, they have their PTO, so they plan their trips around holidays like Labor Day. So I went to Croatia with them last year.
How was that?
Amazing.
Really?
Amazing. Yeah.
So how many countries have you been to? Do you know?
I can't actually know. I like off the top. I
What's your estimate?
Over 20. Yeah, and I think like a lot of it's happened over the last like couple years because I said I work for a company where you want to travel. I think Europe, it was easy to cross them off. I said 7 and 7, right? So that was really quick.
Yeah.
I'm a big South America traveler. I'm Peruvian, so like I've gone to Peru 4+ times. You know, I've been to Machu Picchu 4 times, right? So like it's something that I enjoy travel. It's a big part of my identity. At this point, like my favorite thing, and I think this is weird for people, I like to travel by myself because I'm forced to really understand who I am, right? Like I think like if you go by yourself, you give a fresh introduction of like who I am at this exact moment. Yeah. It's okay to travel with others as well, and I think like that's also a lot of fun. But there's some kind of vulnerability to say like I'm okay to just like learn new things and like introduce myself to new people. And I have, to credit out, like a lot of friends are around the world because I didn't know them before, so I had to introduce myself.
You had no choice.
Yeah,
you're over there. You're the new guy on the block. You know, you gotta introduce yourself.
Australians are crazy. I'll say that. Australians stand out for me for sure. I went to my Mexico City trip. I want to say that was 2 years ago. I was the only American, and there was like 40 Australians. I want to say
no fucking way.
Yeah,
they're wild, huh?
Yeah, it was Thanksgiving too. So Thanksgiving, you think of like this is a big holiday, American holiday.
Yeah.
And it was my first Thanksgiving away from being with family, doing things. So I made all the Australian people my family.
Really?
Yeah, bought pizza. We had tequila turned up. I rented a dope Airbnb.
Yeah, just fucking partied it up.
We had a good time, and I still talk to so many people from that trip.
That's so crazy, bro. That's so interesting. What tips you got? What tips you got for anybody that is doing international traveling? You know, like, because a lot of us, I think a lot of people are scared to do that. Like, a lot of people are like, fuck, I don't know. You know, they think they're gonna go to Mexico and get their head cut off by the cartel. So what do you feel like, bro?
I think so for Mexico specifically, I think it's respect. Know your surroundings, where you're traveling, what the city is.
Yeah.
Doing a little bit of homework, having cash in your pocket.
Pay those police officers off.
That's happened to me a few times. So like I think that. Luckily I do speak Spanish, so like being able to navigate out of a risky scenario, like, and having pesos in your pocket and just leveling with them, like, here's a scenario, you'll get out of a situation. But that's Mexico, right? I think Mexico, for the most part, is an amazing culture, and like the people are very, I'll say 85% you're gonna be okay. That other 15% is like
a little sketchy.
It could be, right? Yeah, just know, and if you feel that way, get away from the situation. That's the common sense, right? Like if you're out and you realize, wow, I probably shouldn't be here or doing this, you probably shouldn't. So I would say that for Mexico specifically. I think, like, if I was to think about travel trends, I think international travel is going to take a hit for a little bit. I think it's more so the current state of the United States, and then also internationally. We're not as welcoming to people coming to us. Yeah. So how are they going to be receptive to us going to them?
And how have you experienced that traveling yourself? Do you feel like as long as you're respectful to people, they respect you, or do you think people kind of still hold some sort of grudge against you because you are American, you are from the United States?
I think so. It comes in a couple ways. I think like the international lens really depends on how they look at things, right? So there's like, our culture is very Hollywood, so there's a lot of things to comment on, but it's not very reflective, right? California is a huge state, so like the Bay compared to LA, we see it very different. From an international lens, like, you're from California.
It's the same shit.
You're Hollywood, right? So I think it's like all dependent on where you go, and in different places are gonna have different stigmas. I think a big thing is like, and like, not to get into politics, is just Trump as a whole has a persona, right? So internationally, people are gonna mention that, and I think that was the most noticeable thing.
They're gonna almost view you kind of like as your president.
Yeah,
kind of the same stigma.
And it's like interesting too, and that's my favorite part, is actually asking people, what is it that you think about Americans, right? Because like, you can actually change their perspective, and that's one of my favorite things, is to be like, we're not all like what you maybe thought.
Yeah, we're not the stereotype.
And sometimes the stereotype's a positive thing, right? Like, you know what I mean? Fun, energetic. It could be these things that are like, it's not necessarily a negative thing, but like, Yeah, one of my favorite things is just staying human. Like, regardless of where you're at.
It doesn't really matter, right? We're all kind of the same. When it comes down to it, we're all the same. We all gotta, I don't know, deal with the same issues and obstacles and life. We're all the same.
Like, my thing is food, right? I think food. I say it because food brings people together. And I don't know if it's my Peruvian side, but like, the important discussions in life happen over a meal, right? So like, you can break bread with someone, and those are some of my favorite moments of just being together and like eating and commenting on how great a food is, right? Whether it's local, whether it's something from another.
You guys can relate no matter what. No matter what.
Everyone eats. Everyone eats, bro. So like that's one of the moments that like every trip that I've been on, I can think of a meal that I enjoyed. So I take that with me.
Okay, so speaking on food, have you had any wild foods? Have you anything that was like, what the fuck is this?
So in Peru they have something called cuy, and if like people don't know what cuy is, it's like a hamster.
No shit.
Yeah, like gerbil hamster. And I went to my family. My family's from Huacho in Peru, which is kind of like it's a beach area, but a little bit not hood, but you know it's not as wealthy. It's in poverty. So going into Huacho, they got those crazy food. So like I posted on my Instagram a while ago, and it looks like a platypus that's been fried.
Oh my god!
And I was completely down to try it, right? Like I think the thing is people were like, "Oh, this is disgusting," you know what I mean? But like, it's a local delicacy, and if you go to Peru, like the mascots for different like sports teams are this fucking hamster. Like they're like you know what I mean?
Really, the dead hamster?
No, not dead. No, dead.
That's so wild, dude.
A friendly hamster. So like I think cuy for sure is like one of the top up there. Escargot, which is snails in Paris, is like obviously.
Was that good?
You know,
it taste flavorful.
They're just chewy. You know what I mean? Like I think that it's not horrible, but you'll always have me try something. Like if you want me to try, and I haven't been to East Asia. That's the area that like I would love to go. But you get me into Thailand or like Cambodia or like Laos, Vietnam. I know that the delicacies are very different. So I won't shy away from trying things.
Have you, I guess from your travels, I'm just so interested because I've only been in the United States, but was there any like shock to the system in lifestyle when you or maybe even like just because obviously we live in a democracy or a democratic republic, if I'm going to be correct. We feel like we're free all the time, sure. We kind of do what we want to do. Was there any experience that kind of was eye-opening where you're like, just wow?
Yeah, there's a couple experiences. So I think currency is an interesting thing because like you go somewhere and we know the dollar so well, right? So like we're very comfortable knowing how much things cost. So as you go to a new country, you have to relearn a new currency, right? And like the exchange of that is like, what is that for dollars in your mind, right? It's like, what is this in English, right? Like, you're hearing their language, but then you have to translate it. So just when you think of like their local currency, you get caught off guard and you can get shell shocked by like the numbers that you see, right? So
you're like 500,
yeah.
Whatever.
Like I think like in Croatia it was kuna, and I was thrown off by the kuna, and then I have a bunch of kuna in my pocket, right? So you're just constantly trying to figure that out. I wouldn't say that's a social contract. I think that's just more like the financials of things. Standout moments would probably be like in Europe, realizing what was okay as far as like sharing information. There's like a lot of privacy laws, and like the US doesn't have those. So like, you have to be very careful about what information you can see and cannot see, right? So I think that was a little bit like, you can get in a lot of trouble because you can see things in the U.S. that's not acceptable.
You have no idea. Obviously.
So censorship is a little bit different. And then connectivity, right? Like I think as you travel, you realize how important Wi-Fi is, right? Like you don't have a cell phone, so it's it's a gift for us to be. We complain about slow service or not being able to check your Instagram. There's countries that they're just not set up for that, so you could go dark for a while. That's different, right? Like that's what I'm saying. Like you just don't know what's going on. So imagine in the midst of a pandemic or information,
you're not hearing any of it.
It's not a resource at that time. So that's different, man.
I could see that, and how do you just on that? How do you feel about cell phones and social media? Do you feel like it's I don't know, more of an issue, or do you think it's a benefit? Do you think it's?
I'm torn because I think it's such a important time in history that we have access to information
So quickly.
What I'm worried about is the wrong information, right? So for example, if you would rewind the clock and you wanted to find a tattoo artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
How hard was it? You would be word of mouth, and you'd be like, oh yeah, like I know this guy that does tattoos.
Yeah.
But now you can go on Instagram and be able to see oh, this is a respected artist that has 1 million followers. So
exactly.
And I'll actually to get back into vacation rentals. You think of the same thing for interior designers, or just there's just a lot of ad flow going, right? Your explore page right now is a reflection of what you've been searching. And I think
exactly.
It is, right? So
if you look at your explore page, you know exactly what you're looking at.
Yeah, and
it's all gym shit. People working out all crazy.
They're gonna market, right? So I think right now is a very interesting time. We're all home, so we're using social media probably more than ever, in my eyes, right? I think
I'm pretty sure.
As you post a story or you're doing a Snapchat, you're probably seeing more people engaged than ever, right?
Yeah.
So it's just if we're disconnected as a world, the social media allows you to feel a little bit closer.
You're still connected, kind of.
Yeah. I know what you did today, right? And that's an interesting fact of all this. So I won't say it's a pro or con today. I do think it's an interesting ad source, right? People are making money.
A lot of money.
Yeah.
Do you see I don't know, the future as in do you think virtual reality or augmented reality, do you see those being big? Do you see any adjustment in social media? Do you think we're gonna continue to use phones? Do you think there's gonna be any change in that? Because I feel there's something that becomes so everyday. Let's say even cable becomes so everyday, cable boxes and TV, and I feel that's not even used that often anymore.
Yeah.
I feel most people are just on YouTube, mostly on their phones, watching Netflix. Most people don't even, or phones, even your home phone. Your home phone's not around anymore.
Yeah.
Do you see people still using the cell phone, or do you see there being some big change coming soon?
I think the biggest change, and it's a fact right now, is how many people are working from home using Zoom, WebEx, Skype, and I think that's what's going to actually change the workforce more than anything else. Because you're realizing a lot of businesses rent their spaces, right? So they feel it was necessary to have an office space to have people congregate together to do these meetings and feel like a team. And right now, teams are remote and they're working from home. And I think a lot of employees are going to want to continue working from home, right? And I think
it's a little easier, just a little bit easier.
It might be. I've also seen the adverse of people having kids or just not having enough space, right?
Yeah.
So imagine there should be a clear distinction to say I have a house and I have work, right? And I saw
this lady. She was doing a Zoom and she was a teacher or something, and her husband just got out the shower, bro. Was putting his clothes on, bro, and it was just right there in his tidy whities, dude. And I've seen another Zoom where a fucking dude was in a college course and he's listening to the professor, and this dude just sparks up a blunt and just smoking a blunt during the class, dude. So I can definitely see the cons of Zoom meetings.
There's a lot of cons and unpredictability, but what I think the takeaway here is that it's going to change the way that we rent spaces and decide what meeting had to be in person and what meeting had to be digital, or what could have been an email, right? So I think the biggest change will probably be in how we interact with each other, because this virtual space right now seems to be working, and in some ways it's actually been better, right? I've seen cases where I'll share a personal being able to connect with family for a birthday or a Easter party. People that I probably wouldn't have seen in person were in the Zoom chat and participating and being engaged.
Exactly, because you're right there at home, so it's how much easier to just hit.
Yeah, it's not as hard to connect by saying, hey, I'm also by myself in this situation, and Zoom has made a platform where you can connect, right? So
yeah.
I think that's probably the biggest change. I think cell phones as a whole, the accessibility, everyone has a cell phone, but like being able to broadcast your information at the tip of your hands right now. You can take an Airbnb reservation, you can tweet what you're feeling, you can make a podcast. Like that's where we are today, right? And like you've given a tool to so many voices. So right now some voices are going to take a lot more strength and like get attention. And I think of some people right now that like you wouldn't have known post quarantine, right? Some voices are really like you want to listen because there's nothing else going on.
There's not even. I feel like TV's not even productions halted on everything. Style. Yeah, and I don't know. Even I guess cell phones gave everybody a voice. You know, give everybody an opportunity, and kind of made it a little more open.
And taking it back, I'm just in a reminiscent sense. So I remember like, don't call me past 9. Like I don't have minutes right now.
Exactly.
that was the thing, right? There was limitations to communication.
Yep.
And like, not that many people are complaining about their cell phone bills. That's actually what you would probably consider essential, is that you need to continue paying your cell phone bill, right? So there's
that's so crazy,
right? If you kind of think about that concept, no one's really questioning, right? As you go through your bills, your rent, you're paying your cell phone bill. You're not letting that.
Yeah, everybody's using their cell phone every day. That's like their one thing. They got.
You got to be on the Wi-Fi. You know what I mean?
You got to be on the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I think we're pretty good. Looks like we're about an hour in, so I think we should wrap it up. I think it's been a pretty good podcast.
For sure.
Again, shout out your Instagram one more time or whatever social media, and then I think we should leave them with I guess I don't know, a tip for anybody that's. Just one tip, I guess, for anybody that's looking to buy a home, anybody that's looking to rent their home.
Yeah.
Just anything with real estate. Give them one good tip that anybody could take home today, I guess.
I think off the top is that believe in yourself in navigating through this new space. Obviously, it's an unprecedented time. People not sure what the next steps are. My future state of what I'm seeing is that like there will be a lot of inventory in real estate that's going to be hitting the market. So just keep saving and be ready to kind of get an opportunity. We're in a historic time where like if you look at 2008, there was a recession. A lot of homes went into foreclosure because the market kind of just the bubble burst, right? And I think similarly right now you're going to have a lot of homes that don't know what to do next, like secondary homes investment, and like it's a tough time for people, but there's opportunity right now. So I would say take your time, don't do anything rash or like impulsive, and make a plan. Like I think if there's anything that you can do and look back in 2020 is that you plan things out well. So it's not going to happen this year. It's going to happen in 2022, 2024. And a lot of the success that I saw is because I wrote down what I was looking for. I knew what I wanted. And I always make a plan. And I think 70% of your plan can come true because you control the output. You control the effort. Yeah, if you say, if I'm going to do this, you got to stay committed to it.
So to this day, do you still write down your goals?
I do. Yeah, I write.
So you think it's very important?
Yeah. I slip on this, right? Like I think that's like a thing. Like I open up a journal and say, this is what I want for myself. And, like, you need a separation to say, who is your work self, who is your personal self, and then family. You know what I mean? There's just different buckets, right? So, I think I have goals in each of those buckets. But in this career sense, like, yeah, we live in the Coachella Valley. There's a lot of dope opportunity here. Coachella has a contract here until 2030, right? So, it's coming back. So, like, there's things to look forward to.
Really? I don't even know when the contract until 2030. That's another 10 years.
Yeah, so there's just more to come, and like if you guys need help, like I think the other thing is finding a good mentor and like someone to talk to, because like there's a lot of people in the shoes of like, this is my first time doing an Airbnb. And I don't know what to do next, because they know what the concept is, but like the quality of photos, caring about your guest, is the Wi-Fi good? You know what I mean? Those like fundamentals make the difference, and like caring about it. So that's what rose my passion, man.
I think, and I also think that obviously those issues, but people are obviously worried about just their house, you know, like throwing it on Airbnb and hoping their house doesn't get just fucked up by the guests that they're trying to take care of.
It's setting expectations. This is the most important part that I think is like you'll get respect if you put it out there. If you don't introduce yourself beforehand, it's very easy to disrespect something, right? So like so I make it a point that they know that I'm invested in my property, that these things are special. So like I like I'm very personal in my business, and from that I feel like I've gotten great respect and very limited damages. There's always that case where there could be things go wrong. You know what I mean? People are gonna drop a glass.
You gotta plan for that.
Yeah, and you have to feel okay about that. Don't be butthurt because a towel got dirty or things like that. That's the cost of doing business. But really, just understand like you're enabling people to have an amazing vacation. And if you have that attitude and say, I want to make my house as like comfortable as possible so these people can enjoy it, you're gonna feel good at the end result when they did enjoy it. And that's like what you should try to base your motivation off, because if you're saying I'm in it to make money, you're gonna be pissed when you lose money.
Yeah,
that's the that's the difference, right? So like
you're just gonna overreact.
Yeah. I honestly like connecting with people and just being able to help them have good vacations. If they can leave here and say I had the best time visiting the desert and I want to come back to your place, I feel like I did a good job. So that's what leads me. And I hope to do that I'll buy more properties over time and like figure out where the best place to be going is. Like whether it be Costa Rica, like I was saying, Europe, but like ultimately you got to deliver experience that you would want yourself. Right? Like when I was telling you about that boat, how excited I was.
That is so crazy.
That's what you should be doing, is like build something that you want to take a trip and hype people.
When people go, they're like, this is unforgettable. You know,
exactly.
They go home and they're like, I want to go back next year and try the same
or like those pictures exist, right? Like I was saying, Instagram, like people are like, we had such a good time and like made memories at that house. So like if that's your goal, you're going to feel a lot better. But if you're like, I'm just about the money, I care about this, I'm going to get cheap IKEA stuff and I'm not really going to put my love and heart into this, that's the output you're going to get. So just know that as you're weighing it in. And then also, like, do your homework. You know, like, a lot of people are doing this right now. So it's like the information and the playbooks are out there. Don't feel like you need to do it by yourself. You know what I mean? Like, talk to people. There are people that have already been
successful. I'm sure there's a lot of free information out there. You could just search that shit out.
100%. YouTube is filled with it. The hard thing is that like you don't know how credible a lot of the information is if they're doing well.
Yeah,
trust. I like always trust your gut. Always trust your gut. If you feel like something's off, it probably is. That's important.
Yeah, I think that's kind of most people. You know, you a lot of people too. When you end up when you don't trust your gut, it obviously turns out the wrong way. And you're like, well, I should have just trusted what I knew. You basically know. Most of the time, the
look back is like, you'll realize after a year of renting, like, okay, this is what went well, and here's what could have went better.
Yeah.
So also know that you're gonna continuously reinvest in the property, buy new sheets, and like that's just the cost, right? So, but overall, I think it's just having good motivation and good guidance. Have a plan, man. The plan is so crucial. If you just guess and do that. Like I see a lot of people say, I'm going to do this right now, and they're not doing it in 3 months. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, like, if you're going to do it, just write down and make a commitment to yourself.
A plan and a good mindset. I think that's
positivity. Yeah. And you know what? One of my biggest things is people tell me I can't do things. So, like, if you tell me...
It's the best way to do things. You know? yeah, exactly. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I think I was doubted early, and I love being able to convince people, like... Okay, like you did that, and like I respect it, and like I don't do it for them, I do it for myself. But it's a rewarding aspect when people are like, "Can you help me?" or like, "What's next?" You know, because then it's like full circle of like, okay, like I'm on the right path of what I'm doing, and my plan's working.
Now they believe in you, 100% believe in. Now you're the leader, basically. Now they're like, "Damn, this one knows what he's talking about." Yeah, he actually put what he was saying and actually did it.
Yeah, and I love helping, man. Like I said, I think there's a lot of people here in the desert that don't know where to go next, and like you guys can hit me up if you do have questions. It's at JRep, and like I actually specialize in helping people that are like Latino families that don't know what they're doing and they're trying to figure it out. maybe they have a housekeeping business or a cleaning business, and they just don't know how to amplify and go next. They don't know how to get their house on Airbnb. And that was my family. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying is like you don't know, and you don't like a lot of people think you need to invest a lot of money to like make a business. This allowed entrepreneurs to be there. A lot of us have the skill set to do that. A lot of us have the families that can help. So like you just gotta lean on each other.
Yeah, exactly. And it's sometimes it doesn't take as much money as you think to make that extra.
Fact.
That extra cash, you know.
Yeah, and if you're in it just for the Coachella weekend, that's okay too. Like you don't need you don't need to do it year round. So just know like if you have a goal and that goal is like I'm just gonna make money for these 3 weeks, you can also do that too and dip out and then like that could pay for a vacation, right? Like a lot of people here will go on vacation just for April, right? Because they knew like and unfortunately it was canceled this year, but I knew a handful of people who were like, Coachella pays for my vacation to Mexico.
I go to vacation, I rent my house out for a couple weeks, and that's it.
It's not a primary source of income, and you can make it one if you'd like. You can make it your business, like I said, I have. But like in many ways, like you can also use it as supplement, and it's that initial side hustle that I appreciate, and anyone's capable of this.
And I think that's kind of the epitome of a grinder. You know what I'm saying? Like you're gonna find that side hustle. You're gonna continue to find some way to make money. That's the only way to keep moving up the ladder. You can't. That's just my love, stop. Man.
Yeah, it's being able to find something that you can push further and then make a side income. Because I think side income, there's many ways to do it, and I'm just glad it's a legal, structured way, you know, and it exists, right? Like I think like a lot of ingenuity and like creativity has to happen, and a lot of that foundation's already been done. Airbnb exists, right? VRBO, these other rental sites. They laid the groundwork for anyone to just throw pictures on, say, hey, my house is available for this month. Do you want to rent it out?
Exactly, yeah.
And like that's anyone who has space, right? So do your homework, have a plan, stay positive, and ask for help. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think, just like it, that's what it is.
Reach out. Everybody's in it together. 28th episode. Shout out to my boy Jimmy.
Thanks for having me, bro. Yee. That was good.
A good podcast.
Use the restroom, bro.